All right. What's up, everybody? It is Saturday night. Let's see if we can knock out about an hour here. Let's keep it interesting, guys. Let's ask good questions. And hopefully I could come up with a good response. Let's see. Get the word out. Shavua Tov. Like we do. Oh, hey, Layla. Shalom. Like we do I guess it's been every night now, right? We just rested for Shabbos. Hey, Colorado PD person. Hi. A lot of drama Friday afternoon. Hope you're okay. I am okay. Yes. I was going to go live right before Shabbat, and then I saw that the Israelis, man, I mean, is TikTok that small? Or is it, I think I know every Jewish person on TikTok. And Clubhouse, by the way. They're both equally jerky, unfortunately. But yeah, there aren't that many Jews on TikTok, I guess, right? That have over 1,000 followers, maybe. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I went on this live. I saw my name mentioned, and I just, I think, I spoke briefly. I let them speak, and then it's better when people defend you instead of you defending yourself. All right, because I think at this point, if someone dislikes me, anything I have to say, they can't hear because I'm somewhat invisible. All right, let's see. First guest of the night.
Do I get a prize?
Yeah, no, we should do that. We should raffle off stuff. Like, let's see.
I only accept $3,000 as prizes. So
about 3,000 shekel. That's still a lot. I was going to say 3,000 shekel. That's like $800. Okay, fine. 3,000 pesos, Colombian pesos. So what's up, man? I mean, I check out your lives often. Well, you're on often.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I enjoy your lives also. I enjoy what you do.
Thank you.
I was kind of wondering. So, what is the significance of payas? Do you know or?
Yeah. So, first of all, not everyone calls it payas. That's an Ashkenazi thing. Sephardim, well, the only Sephardim who really have payas are like Yemenites, Temanim, and they call it Simanim. And so the reason in the non-Ashkenazi world they used to wear payas was because the Arabs forced them, or the Muslims forced them to wear them to distinguish themselves as non-Muslims. That's why they're called Simanim, like signs. It was a sign that would distinguish them from Muslims, right? Thrust upon them, meaning Jews never had peyot. Now, in Europe, it's something different. Breslauer Hasidim, in particular, have long peyot because, like Rabbi Nachman says, that if you have long peyot, if you're in hell, he's going to pull you out by your peyot. There's no halacha that says you have to have long peyot. I have peyot, according to halacha. Not cutting the corners of your beard means two things in Judaism. It means cutting in Judaism means, well, it says in Hebrew is don't destroy. So destroying in Hebrew is shaving with a razor or plucking out. And the same thing goes for your beard, by the way. Most modern Orthodox rabbis don't have beards, right? I mean, they're not violating any law. They don't have beards because according to Jewish law, as long as you're not shaving with a razor, like an actual blade, and you're not tearing the hair out, then it constitutes, then it doesn't constitute destroying the beard. So Orthodox Judaism allows you to shave with a razor, with an electric razor, because an electric razor doesn't do a razor action, it does a clipping action. This is
like this.
Yeah, right. What's that? Maybe, because there's some that they allow and some that they don't. Like the rotary ones, I know they allow. But regardless, if it's clipping and it's not shaving, it's allowed. This is why. I mean, I'm not the only rabbi who doesn't have a beard, right? I mean, even the Ramchal, if you want to go back to like a real Kabbalist, also didn't have a beard. Um, so
Would you want a beard? Like I know, okay, so like a beard is maybe not it's not something that is, I guess, is it something you think is recommended?
I mean, for status, maybe. I don't know. Some people say that the beard is the sports bra of the face or the wonder bra of the face for some people, right? I mean, some guys, they need a beard. Um, Truth be told, unless you're Lubavitcher, because according to Chabad, because they have different books they go by, according to the Tzemach Tzedek, you have to have a beard. So Lubavitchers, like, specifically don't even trim their beard. But if you're not Chabad, you don't have to have a beard. Really, Chabad doesn't have to do it, but they because they have other books that they elevate apart from just the Talmud, the Mishnah, and the Torah. Uh, they're the only ones who don't trim their beard at all. Do you does There's a Kabbalistic notion that the beard, and I'm not into Kabbalah, but the beard is tied to the 13 principles of mercy. And yeah, like hair is something spiritual, like on the face, but this has nothing to do with Jewish law. This itself is optional to believe. But if you're very Kabbalistically inclined, like most Hasidic Jews are, this is why they typically always have a longer beard. But they'll tell you that according to Jewish law, you don't need to have one. In Europe, like in Slobodka and in like Lipische places in Europe, almost nobody had a beard. And back then they didn't have electric razors. So what they did was that they would use hair remover. Yeah, so it's not a new idea. Yeah.
So like you go to India a lot, and are there and you convert people there. Are those people that are converting, like, do they say that they're Jews, like they're long lost Jews, or are they new to Judaism, or like what?
So it's interesting. A lot of them before they met me would lie. Like people think that like the B'nai Menashe and all these guys. Well, you heard of the B'nai Menashe?
Not familiar with it.
So the B'nai Menashe is a group that was endorsed by Israel and was allowed to move to Israel from, I believe they were from some part of northern India. And they claim to be, B'nai Menashe, like part of the 10 lost tribes. There's more and more people lying about being Jewish because they know what sells. They know that Israel will only give you special treatment if you claim to be part of the lost tribes. And, there's a group in Pakistan we're working with, and they call themselves B'nai Ephraim. They have no lineage to Ephraim, but this is just what they do because they love Torah so much. They're trying to get to the attention of organizations in Israel, and the only way these organizations will even look at them is if they think they have Jewish blood. Yeah, Israel doesn't want to help anyone who doesn't claim to have Jewish blood. So I get them to stop doing that stuff. Like, even though good guys finish last, even in the religious world, unfortunately. Like if you're honest and say, look, I just want to convert to Judaism, they'll be like, sorry. But if you say you have Jewish blood, they'll bend over backwards to help you because they separate the world tribally and not ethically. So the people that I work with in India have been keeping Judaism for like 15 years and nobody wanted to help them. So then I learned with them for like 2 years on Zoom. We fundraised. So far, we've sent 2 Torah scrolls and we built them a mikvah. And I'm going back in January to.
Why did they want to become Jewish? Because, like, I mean, did they just find it on the internet? Like, oh, Judaism, cool stuff.
Yeah, well, that's partially. I mean, why does anyone want to become any religion? I mean,
No, I mean,
clearly.
like, I'm just saying, like, there aren't that many Jews in India, you know? It's like, how would they even know what a Jew is?
Oh, I would attribute that to the internet, right? Back then, I mean, before the internet, how did anyone find a religion? I guess books. It's not such a far-fetched idea because they came from Christianity. I haven't converted an actual Hindu yet. Everyone I converted in India was a former Christian. So I think every Christian is familiar with Judaism. I mean, Jesus was Jewish. So once they stop believing in Jesus, where are they going to go? So they just fall back on Judaism. But it's not like, how do they know Mormons exist? Well, there's Mormons in India now, but yeah, it's in their Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You ever thought about proselytizing in like China, or it's kind of hard?
they reached out to me. There's a whole world out there. There's cooler places I'd like to go. I mean, I've always loved everything to do with India, right? But I guess China's problematic because of the government. We don't proselytize in India. These people were established as a community already, but nobody wanted to help them. There hasn't been a community that we actually convinced them to become Jewish. I do this on an individual level, just by having dialogues with them. But a whole community, there are whole communities that converted from Christianity to Judaism. Like 12 years ago, we went to Ecuador, to Guayaquil, Ecuador, and there was probably like 80 people there who had a messianic synagogue and everything, and they dropped it all and they wanted to become Jewish. So they contacted us, and I went with like 3 other people. And I mean, the video's online. You guys could type in Guayaquil conversion. I don't even know when it was, 2008, 2010. And it's kind of hard to convince a bunch of people to convert to Judaism. It's typically,
It's kind of a hard sell. Here's a big book full of 613 rules you have to follow.
You think so? I don't think it's a hard sell. I mean, if people convert to Islam and, J witnesses and people, I mean, Judaism is, well, one, people want structure. So that's hard to deny. And Judaism has a structure and has the prestige in the religious world. The major monotheistic religions are offshoots of Judaism. It's like Coca-Cola, man. I mean, it's an easy sell. Easy. Who really wants to be part of an offshoot? And that's what you're joining if you're becoming a Muslim or a Christian. An offshoot.
Have you ever convinced a Hindu or like a Buddhist to convert to Judaism?
No, not at all. I mean, one, I wouldn't know what to say because my selling points for Judaism is how it's elevated the West. I don't know much about the East, right? I mean, the Far East, right? I mean, Israel's in the East. The Arabs are in the East. I have what to say to them. But no, I mean, I haven't dialogued with them much. Hindus. I mean, I talk to them on the plane. Whenever I take a cab somewhere in India or any, I ask people about like Shiva and, like just so I could get some understanding of how Hinduism functions. But yeah, no, you're Jewish?
Yeah. Chabad.
Oh, so you're like a from Jew. I mean, like you're religious?
Not religious anymore. I used to be.
Yeah, but you were born into it?
Yeah.
Like born into like the religious lifestyle?
Yeah.
Bar
mitzvah, I have tefillin,
So it's harder to appreciate from that perspective. As a matter of fact, in terms of, I worked as an outreach worker in Hebrew University for many years, specifically, targeting Jewish people, and it's extremely, extremely difficult to get college Jewish kids, learning overseas to do anything religious. It's so much easier to bring a Muslim. It's easier to convert a Muslim to Judaism than it is to convert an atheistical Jew to Judaism.
Why? Why do you think that is?
Because.
And by the way, I'm still religious. I'm not like super religious. I still
Jews don't have a proclivity to God. Like Jews are the most prestigious atheists out there they're mainly Jewish, from the Carl Sagan, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, and on and on. We're disproportionately represented.
I think the word here is I was reading about Jainism. You know what that is?
Jainism? No.
Jainism, yeah, Jainism.
Yeah.
I think it's the Jainism of modernity that ties into secularism in the Jewish community.
The Jainism of modernity. Jainism, as I know it, because it's practiced mainly in India, a lot of these guys walk around naked. They wear masks because they don't want to inhale any. I mean, it's like I don't know if you know, like Toldos Haran or like strict form. It's like the strictest form of Buddhism slash Hinduism that exist.
I
But
know.
yeah, most Jews are not religiously inclined. And I would say that the biggest enemies to religion on this planet right now, unfortunately, are Jews. Right? I mean, obviously
It's
not religious Jews.
it's this. Let me show you. Um, Gnosticism. Gnosticism.
Oh, Gnosticism. It's a silent
Gnostic.
G.
Yeah. My bad. I mispronounced it. I think
Yeah,
that
so
has
Gnost-
something to do with it.
yeah, so there isn't one set definition of what Gnosticism is, but it was the predecessor to Kabbalistic Judaism, because it was a form of mysticism in the time of the Second Temple and in the time of Jesus. This is why there's even like Gnostic Gospels. Um, so it comes from the word to know in Greek, but it's like the Gnostic Christians believe that Jesus didn't really have a body. Uh, yeah, I don't know. You know, I, I'm not big into metaphysics, but what about it in particular do you like?
I think it ties in because like you I think in regard to like modern Jews, I want to like abandon um Judaism the way they feel
Mm.
is in regard. I think it ties because Gnosticism is this philosophy of, you know what, there's a God, but I'm on an equal part with God, so we're on an equal playing field. So it doesn't matter what I do. So I'm just gonna pretend like I'm God, like I'm on the same level as it. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, something like that is so antithetical to what I believe. I mean, for me, I'm ethics based. Spirituality, you know, if someone tells me they believe in God and they're spiritual, it doesn't tell me anything about them, right? Especially like if they don't tell me what God they believe in. Because I mean, spirituality is not going to make you behave one bit better. It's going to give you a some mystical experience, but how does that affect your neighbor? How does it affect your community? While a Torah based system, an ethics based system, deals with individual moral training, and that's the extent of my religiosity. I don't care. I mean, spirit. You know how many people claim to be spiritual and don't do crap in this planet that's good? It's and I think that Christianity and Islam, that's all they brought to the table: metaphysics and narrative, and we have enough of that. That we need ethics.
Most evil philosophies um come from that Gnosticism, that Gnosticism. It takes a pure philosophy and it corrupts it.
Uh huh. All right. I don't. You know. I mean, even the leader of Germany during World War II was also metaphysically inclined. He was very into astrology. That yeah, it doesn't tell me anything about the person. Even if someone tells me they believe in God, I mean, it depends what God they believe in, right? I don't think it's worth even believing in God if he has
I wish I could
no
message
ethical
you.
standard for us to live by.
I wish I could message you. I think there's this video on TIK history that I think you would love. That
Yeah,
like explains like the split. Is interesting. But
I'm
anyway,
telling you that
yeah.
with as many people that dislike me proselytizing, if they had to pick someone to proselytize, it would have to be me, you know, because I'm not trying to just bring people who want to have fun and who want to, you know, I don't know, like act like they're in some religious LSD trip. You know, I'm genuinely trying to make people better. And the religion that I'm espousing is an ethical religion, right? I mean, if I was like Chabad and I was just trying to get people to believe that the Rebbe was Mashiach, I don't think that would make the world a drop better. You know, so for those who hate that I proselytize Judaism, at least they should be comforted to know that the Judaism that I am proselytizing is ethics based, right? I don't want jerks in this religion. I want nice people. So yeah.
Maybe a few jerks here and there. That would be nice. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, we're like jerks are overly represented in the Jewish people, unfortunately, and this is just the way it is. And Jews acknowledge it. There's no yeah, yeah, kvetchers. You kvetch too much. Yeah. I don't know about the whole proud thing. I mean, the vast majority of Jews actually leave Judaism. And it's not, I mean, secular Judaism, I
You
mean,
know, it's
since what they
interesting.
call the Haskalah,
It's
I think
interesting. It depends on where. In some communities, they retain their Jewishness, and in others, they don't.
not outside of their religiosity. Before the Haskalah, the Jewish Enlightenment, Jews just assimilated and stopped identifying as Jewish. So Kabbalistic Judaism gave birth to the Jewish Enlightenment, which had nothing to do with religion, but it was built off the idea that what made them special was their Jewishness, which is a Kabbalistic idea that what makes you special to God is your Jewish soul, not necessarily what you do. And that gave birth to atheistical Judaism, which is what we have today. People who are proudly Jewish but don't even believe in God. This appeared nowhere in Jewish history. Nowhere. I mean, in Talmudic times, if someone ceased believing in God, he wouldn't keep on identifying himself as Jewish. It makes no sense. But because of Kabbalah, right, what makes you Jewish is that only you, because you have a Jewish mother, which it was never taught like this. Yes, according to Jewish law, if your mother's Jewish, you're halakhically Jewish, but why would a secular person even care about that, right? Oh, because you're a Karaite Jew. No, I'm speaking for the vast majority of Jews. I know you disagree, right? Yeah, but it's still the sentiment is the same. That whether you think you're special because your father's Jewish or your mother's Jewish, I mean, only because you have some Abrahamic pedigree, that doesn't make you special in any way, right? I mean, even if I was a direct descendant of Genghis Khan, right? Why, why should I feel head and shoulders above my neighbor in any way? I think from that perspective, I would be as equally special as I am equally worthless, right? I should be distinguished by my merits, not because who my parent happens to be, which is how, it's silly how only on Jewish TikToks, like on this TikTok that was on before Shabbos, you had secular Jews schooling a religious Jew on how Judaism functions, but they know nothing about Judaism. Jews who don't even clearly believe in God, right? I mean, they break Shabbat, they act like they don't believe in God, and they're telling someone who is religious that I'm wrong, and that in Judaism we shouldn't encourage converts, but they don't even practice Judaism, So this would never happen in any other life, that some atheistical Muslim would in some way school a religious Muslim. Now, truth be told, there aren't too many religious Jews on TikTok that have 1,000 followers. I get it, right? But to have that type of chutzpah that you don't know anything about your religion, but at the same time you're going to school someone who does and tell him that he's wrong when you don't know, it's just because we don't do it and this is what I know. Only a Jew would have that type of chutzpah. They would argue a case if they don't even know what they're actually arguing about. I mean, just because they dislike you. And from my perspective, the reason they dislike me, they won't say it, is because I'm a convert and I have the chutzpah to say that they're wrong. That's it.
First and foremost, Asher,
just out of interest, what is your justification for converting people, though? Like,
my justification, I think it's a good idea.
But how come? Like, what is the because obviously with Judaism, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably one of the people you described. I come from a culturally Jewish background, but I'm not. I believe in God, but I'm not really exactly a practicing Jew. But I'm not going to try and disagree with you from some sort of moral high standpoint. Only culturally Jews allowed and all that. But I just don't see the purpose of converting people, because as a religion, from my understanding of it, we're quite sort of, I know with Christianity and Islam, the whole thing is they convert people to sort of save them from eternal damnation. But Judaism is, from my understanding, more hazy about that sort of thing. And there is even a system in Judaism that encourages people to live righteously. I guess that would be Noahidism. So what's the sort of reason why people would have an incentive to convert like full blown to Judaism?
Sure. So I never bring up metaphysical reasons to consider becoming Jewish. If your child happens to have a friend who has no parents to teach him ethics, no parent to tell him, don't go to bed late, don't eat too much candy, focus on your studies. Wouldn't you feel, I mean, in some way obligated as a male to step into the life of another male and say that what's good for you and your child may also be good for that person or child?
I mean, it's an interesting question, but
meaning I do this because of ethics alone.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but that is an interesting point. But again, we have there is a system in place that even religious Jews such as Chabad have who do sort of outreach within Judaism. They did do small movements to encourage people to take up Noahide law, which is the central tenets of sort of morality. You know what I mean?
Really? Do you think someone could truly be righteous by only living by 7 laws?
I mean, yeah, that's kind of why those laws exist. Not like fully righteous, but
all right. So let's go through those laws, because there's only really 6 laws, and then there's a 7th law to establish courts of justice to enforce the previous 6. Okay, and now tell me if this is enough for, in this day and age, for someone to be considered righteous, right? Because I know people say this, but they don't really, think about it. Jews have 613 laws, from, fighting evil and not mistreating other people. Okay, 7 laws. The first law is not to worship idols, right? This has nothing to do with ethics, right? I mean, someone could worship an idol and be an ethical person. This is completely ceremonial. 2, not to curse God. Also ceremonial. Third one is a heavy one. Don't unalive people. I get it. 4th is sexual immorality. Now, sexual immorality for Gentiles is different than sexual immorality for Jews. A Gentile could even marry his mother, according to Jewish law. I mean, they have different standards of it. Fine. 5 is don't steal. And that's the end of the ethical laws, because 6 is don't eat the flesh from a living animal, and 7 is to establish a court of justice to enforce the previous 6 laws. So essentially, you have 3 ethical laws: don't unalive people, no sexual immorality, and not stealing.
Oh, sorry.
Now, did the mustache man not keep all these laws? Are you about to tell me that this is what makes someone righteous on this planet?
No, I think that it sort of provides a basic framework for morality.
Oh, okay, but Christians already have it then.
Explain that wrong. Sorry.
Well, so Christians and Muslims already have it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, so I believe ethical Islam is good, and ethical Christianity is good. I just think that Judaism is better. So I'm here to tell people, not that they have to become Jewish.
Regard, then by your standards, people can live an ethical life by not following Judaism.
No, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I completely agree. If they follow an offshoot of Judaism, they could. I'm not here to convert Christians or Muslims to Judaism. Okay, I'm here to let them know that it's possible. And if they're looking for more ethics, and I mean specifically the source that they appropriated their ethics from, because anything ethical in the Quran and the New Testament they took from the Torah, perhaps they would want to consider looking into Judaism. If you guys call this proselytizing, I mean, it's just like stating the obvious. So I know that you probably heard, someone say that I throw holy water on people or some. These Israelis say the silliest things, but I'm just letting people know the obvious. They call it proselytizing. I call it having an open door policy. That's it.
So I just assumed that was what it was, because that was what it says on
it has nothing to do with heaven and hell. The Torah doesn't even mention heaven and hell. Cool. But there's being more ethical and less ethical. And I'm pretty sure you'd probably be happier if every radical Muslim tomorrow converted to Judaism, right?
I'm not sure.
Radical Muslim, anti-Israel, anti-Jew hating Muslim?
Probably. As I said, my main connection to our faith comes from the culture and the fact that it's not a sort of unbroken line thing, because I'm only half Jewish genetically, and my dad didn't convert when he married my mum. So by Jewish standards, I am an ethnic Jew. I'm part of the nation. And to me, that's why I think a lot of Jews aren't particularly friendly with proselytizing, because they think of us as a distinct nation and a chosen people and all that sort of thing. And I think it's fine. I was brought up Reform, and there's a lot of converts in Reform, whereas there aren't a lot of converts in Orthodox. But
there's many areas in your life that I'm pretty sure.
I think it makes sense.
that what's good for you is good for
Yeah.
someone else, right? I mean, there's many. I mean, you have to be taught otherwise. Anything. I mean, if I watch a movie that I like, the first thing I do is tell my friends about it because I want to make their life better, right? If the world is dying from some disease and I happen to have the cure, or I'm convinced it's a cure, I'd have to be a real piece of garbage not to share that cure with them, right?
But you've already said yourself that you think people can have a righteous living in, and you also said earlier when I was in the live that many of the people that you do convert formerly were Christians or
right.
Basically other monotheistic faiths.
Yeah, no, the choice in life typically is not between what's horrific and what's perfect, but between what's good and what's better. Although Christians could be ethical and Muslims could be ethical, have you seen the Israel-Palestine debates here? The Jews never win. The reason they never win those debates is because they're not logic-based. The Israelis are using logic, and the Islamic side is completely ideological. The only way to bring someone over from that side is to convert them. That's the only way. Switch their religion, and you won't have to debate Israel-Palestine anymore. Just so even from that perspective, because when you debate Israel-Palestine, you are still proselytizing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for talking to me. It's a really interesting discussion. Have a nice evening.
Okay, no problem.
Hey, bro.
Hey, what's up?
So what's up?
What's a good word?
So let's say you're trying to convert, right?
Right.
Who is your God? Who is your God?
Who's my God?
Yeah.
The God that appears in the Bible. Hello?
Okay. So yeah. So you use the Bible, right?
The Jewish Bible.
So the Jewish Bible, that different from the King James Version and the Old Testament Bible?
It's the first half of the Christian Bible, so it would be what you call the Old Testament.
So the Old Man, okay. That was before or after Jesus?
Before.
Before Jesus. Okay. Okay, so what you're saying is that you don't believe in Jesus either.
All right. I had to kick him off. I mean, just because you have to keep the tempo going. I'm sorry, guys. There's a certain level of education, religious education, you have to hop in the show because my audience has very little patience. Welcome, free thinker. And I saw 643 in there, so I guess you're from Jew.
Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi.
Aleichem shalom.
Actually, I have a simple question regarding the Torah, since there's something going wrong in the text according to my logic. You see here, in the Torah, we don't have the word for heaven and hell. We don't have the word for Olam Haba as well, because it's not mentioned anywhere. It's from the Torah Shebe'al Peh, right?
Right.
And how can someone prove that?
I mean, it's from Midrashim, but yeah.
Yeah, Midrashim, legends. But when we are talking about logic and life is about social experience, and therefore hell and heaven does not really exist in the Torah. So we live, because we live in this world, we have to focus on this world. So how can we prove that the afterlife, Gan Eden or Olam Haba, exists? Because it cannot be proven scientifically.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of proof, I think there's logical evidence for it. If God claims to be a just God, it's hard for him to be just and in some way look away at all the injustice that happens on this planet and in some way not instill a form of divine justice. I believe in heaven and hell because there's a lot of good people who suffer unjustly on this planet, and there's a lot of crappy people who get away with a lot. So I believe that there has to be more. This is my personal belief. I don't believe it's a tenet of my religion, but like you said, what Gehinom doesn't mean hell. which Shemaim doesn't mean heaven, although Shemaim appears in Torah, it just means the sky. Sheol doesn't mean hell either.
Yeah.
Olam Haba doesn't, only appears by Chazal. So, it seems like God wants us to be more earthly minded than heavenly minded. Although the Torah does give you little hints of there being something more. Parshat Nitzavim, I think it talks about there being some book that God is going to write you in. It says about Avram Avinu, it says that he died, he was gathered to his fathers, and then he was buried. What does that mean? I don't know. Is it enough to build a whole doctrine on heaven and hell? No, it's not. So,
is it possible that the God of the Israelite people, or even the God of other nations, in Judaism, as you know, God is something that is transcendence. So transcendence is he doesn't have any form, he doesn't have any weakness, he's all powerful and all of that.
Not according to the Torah. You're thinking of according to Rishonim, according to the Rambam for sure. According to Onkelos for sure. But according to Tosfos, let's say, the French rabbis, they were corporealists, where they believed that God had a shape. According to rabbis in the Talmud, it says that God wears tefillin. I'm not saying I believe in this, but
well, this is interesting because if God has a form, but it's just that we don't know how he looks like, doesn't it mean that God is some kind of an extraterrestrial being? But he's just more powerful than us because he's not human. If he says Lo ish el v'chazdefu ben adam v'yitnachem, then it means that he is some kind of an extraterrestrial being because he's not human. He's not called a man because he is not an ish. He is also not an isha. Therefore, the word Elohim means something like power.
Yeah.
Powerful beings.
He's called Ish in the Torah also. It says Hashem Ish Milchama.
Ish Milchama, yeah.
Right. So it contradicts itself.
But not Bnei Adam, not Ish from Bnei Adam, right?
Oh, but it doesn't make a distinction. Ish means man, stam. I agree with you, but according to what we call the Pashat, it's hard to make a definitive statement of what God is and what God isn't. All we know is that God is good. Okay, because there's times.
I think the problem is the word God in English, or maybe if someone spoke Greek, the word theos. Because when we say God in English, it doesn't say it's masculine or feminine, but in other languages, such as Greek or Arabic, we have like masculine and feminine, right? So this word God really does not exist because like Elohim in Hebrew is something that is you can call Hashem Elohim, you can call Moshe Rabbeinu Elohim, you can call Avraham Avinu Elohim, you can call the Malachim Elohim, Sanhedrin, and the Shoftim also. So the word Elohim means nothing like God. It's just something that has authority.
I say God, so I don't have to say Yud-Ke Vav-Ke. So it's you know what I mean?
Okay.
That the only thing we know about God is that he's good. I know the Rambam has many different rules he created of how one could relate to God, that you can't say what he is, you could only say what he isn't. But the Torah doesn't play it doesn't play by these rules. So we shouldn't try to define God philosophically. Just come to the conclusion that he's good and he wants us to keep mitzvot. This idea that he's all-knowing, I'm not even convinced that God knows the future. Right? And there was a rabbi.
Wait a second. How can we conclude, how can we make an assumption that God is eternal? Like it's like people in religion, in all religions, people believe that God, this God is eternal. How can we know that he is eternal? Maybe he has a longer life. Or maybe he has a descendant. We don't know. How can we know for sure?
We don't know.
We don't know. Okay. So this religion experience is just a social construct, right? For the benefit of the people.
So if you define religion as man's attempt to know God, then yes. But if you define religion as trying to understand what the Bible is trying to tell us, then no. Because it seems... But the Torah says that the secret things are for God and only what he has revealed is for us to do and for our children to do. So he revealed the mitzvot, the commandments. That's what he wants us to do. He doesn't want us to try to dissect him, which is what everyone else does nowadays. When a Muslim argues with a Christian, it's typically over something trivial on the complexity of God. We don't know anything about God. Okay, in one area it shows that he regrets making man, but in the other area it shows that he's omniscient. So which one is it? So I think that
it
should
might be
lead us to say that we
possible
don't know.
that Elohim is more than one. I mean, but in the Torah it states clearly that you should not have other. Lo yihye
Avodat
lecha Elohim
Elohim.
acherim al panai.
Right.
It says in the Aseret HaDevarim, right? He is so jealous that the Israel people are not supposed to have any other Elohim in this regard.
Okay.
That's what I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you.
But the problem is not the Torah. The Torah might be lovely and beautiful and also has good morality in it. But the problem today is the religion, what people call as dat. The religion is the problem nowadays.
You mean Judaism?
It makes division. Yes, of course, not just Judaism, in any other religion as well. I have studied like many religions. Even in Islam, it has separate divisions. In Judaism, it has divisions. In Hinduism, it has divisions. Even in Buddhism, it has divisions.
Yeah.
So the problem really is the religion, in my understanding, in my humble opinion.
Right? I mean, it's a necessary
Not evil, but it's problematic if you see the conversion. How conversion is made so difficult for some people in some areas of this world, you know. So some of them have to pay really high. Some of them have to move on to another place just to fit in to the halakha.
Yeah.
But it's not even halakha. Sometimes it's minhagim.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil. In other words, we have to tolerate it. And we have to fix it from within. We just can't do away with it, you know, because the Torah is useless if you don't have a nation trying to keep it.
What's the logic according to your opinion? As a man, you know, what's your opinion about conversion, lahit gayer?
What about it?
If someone has to convert, it means that he converts himself into another nation. Like he was not an Israelite before, and then he converts and he became a part of the Bnei Israel. The problem is, what is the use of conversion? Why is it this? Someone has to go inside the water. What is the logic behind it? Why is it not that anybody can do the Torah if they wish to do so? And if they have this consciousness and knowledge, why are they not just doing it? Because I have met some people in my place. They claim to be the Mizrahi, and they say there is no such thing as conversion. If you want to do the Torah, just do it. Okay. I have met some people like that.
You can't run a nation like that. Our laws were meant to be they're meant to be kept on a nationalistic level. For example, if there's a death penalty for breaking Shabbat, that we know that we don't hold Gentiles accountable for breaking Shabbat. So that we need checks and balances on what makes you liable for the punishments of the Sanhedrin. And that's what conversion is. So the first conversion that appears in the Torah is when you have the Erev Rav and the Hebrews all saying Nasiv and Ishma, and they entered the Jewish people. So after that, there was no doubt. But the Torah tells us in Parshat Shoftim, it says that in all areas of disputes, that we have to go to the place that God chooses. The base of Bechira, where the Shoftim, the Levium, and the Kohanim are there, and they will give you the law. So they set up the standards for conversion. Now it's Mila, Tevila, Korban, right? That we don't offer sacrifices because we don't have a temple, but when we do have a temple, every convert has to bring a sacrifice. So,
but we don't have the Sanhedrin today. So this is the huge issue about punishing those who violate the Shabbat. And who is Jewish and who is not, this is a problem nowadays because there is no Sanhedrin. And also, we don't have the Bible.
So in the Bible, in the book of Esther, in Megillah Esther, at the end of the Sefer, it says that the Persians were mityahadim. They became Jewish. So they're in Galut, right? I mean, very similar to where we are. They have the notion of becoming Jewish, which is not super explicit in the Torah, So it's historical amongst the Jewish people that making the world a better place is a team effort. So like if you want to become Jewish, you have to join the team.
That's understandable. I mean, that makes sense. You cannot live alone because you need other people as well. Because you don't have enough hands to do all the works. That's for sure.
Yeah. So in terms of the conversion process, it's rabbinic. It's essentially fully rabbinic with the exception of Mila, which is circumcision's in the Torah, and that's the sign of the covenant.
So yeah, I can understand it. Like, let's be honest. When we read the Torah, the word Yehudi does not exist. It exists sometimes later in the times of Mordechai and Esther, right? So the word Yehudi does not exist, but the word Bnei Israel is everywhere in the Torah.
Yeah.
Nowadays we have the separations between the northern Israelites and the southern Israelites, which are called the Jews. But the northern Israelites that we call today as the Samaritans, they are also the descendants of Bnei Israel. So they have some kind of halakha also over there in the north. The only difference is they don't have the Beit HaMikdash, which is established in the times of Melech Shlomo, but they have their own place since the time of Yehoshua ben Nun.
Yeah.
So
I interviewed them.
We can
if you go into my channel on TikTok, I went to Holon and I interviewed like everyone, Ben Sadaka. I was there with all the leaders of the community.
Small community, right?
Yeah. Well, there's two. There's one in Har Bracha, like in Mount Gerizim in Har Bracha, which is in the Palestinian area, and then there's the Jewish area, which is by Tel Aviv, Holon. And
So if you're going, if you want to observe the Torah, like doing all the mitzvot and all, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be Jewish. You can be if you want, but some people, if they are attached more to the northern Israelite, for example, then they can also do that because both of them do the same Shabbat. The only difference is the Sidur, the prayers. Other than that, they are doing the same.
So they don't use our 39 categories of prohibited labor. They don't have our standards of what a malacha is and what isn't. I mean, they keep Shabbat different than.
How do you know? How do you know it's different? According to my experience talking to them, their version of Shabbat is even more strict than the Jewish version. But
I mean, it's different than ours.
They don't have electricity on Shabbat. The Jews have electricity. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it's just a different understanding and different interpretation.
Bad. That we're dealing with hukim in general. I mean, it's not bad or good. It's just God says not to do it. God didn't tell us exactly how to keep Shabbat, but He did tell us to listen to the Beit Din HaGadol, and that's why we keep Shabbat the way we do, right? But it's partially rabbinic.
If you say Beit Din HaGadol, then it means that this Beit Din exists only in the times of the Beit HaMikdash, which does not exist even in the times of Moshe Rabbeinu. This is the problem when we go back 3,600 years ago. There was no
So they had different names. In the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, they were just called Zekanim, also Shoftim. Then in the time of Ezra, it was the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. And then only in the time of the Second Temple did they adopt the name Sanhedrin. But it's the same, the same process of smicha existed on this court.
When we talk about smicha, the northern or the southern Israelites, they all have smicha. They even have their complete list of their grandparents, So we are talking about halakha, about laws, about rules. They all have rules. It might differ here and there, but it also have some parts are the same, some parts are different. But when we are talking about laws, it depends where you grow up, because in the north you have the Kohanim Haleviyim. In the south you have the Rabbanim. So this is the only difference. But
according to Torah, why are the Kohanim in the north?
No, it doesn't have to be in the north, but they are born in the north, so they are the descendants of Aaron. You see, this is
Yeah, that's only the Samaritans.
What?
I mean, the Samaritans claim this.
You know, the word Samaritan. This is also a problem. When you see Shomronim, it means the city or the place of Shomron. That's why they are called Shomronim in the Tanakh. But in reality, they don't call themselves Shomronim.
No, I know.
When you talk to them,
I mean, they don't believe in Tanakh either. Yeah.
In their dialect, they call themselves Shamerim, which means the guardian, which is, in Judean Hebrew it will be like Shomrim, not Shomronim, but Shomrim, Shomer, one who is Shomer to the mitzvot. So this is the only thing. Okay, let's say they don't believe in the Tanakh, but they believe 100% in the Torah.
Right. Well, right? Partially. I mean, not 100% because we changed one specific mitzvah. But
the problem with religion is you have to be part of this or part of that. But when you don't have a religion, you can fit anywhere. As long as you have the same Torah, you can practically fit anywhere, adapt. You have a good adaptation everywhere. This is the best, according to my opinion.
Well, I can see how there's a discrepancy on accepting Samaritans. There's been a discrepancy in rabbinic literature for a while. According to the Mishnah...
Yeah, but it's rabbinic. The problem is it's rabbinic. It's not...
Well, their whole existence, I mean, is rabbinic from their perspective, because we believe that in Tanakh it says that they were converts. They were brought over during the Assyrian it was Sanherib. I mean, Sanherib brought them over because it was part of the policy of the kingdom of Assyria. In order to stop mutiny, they would take people from different places of the world. We call them in the Talmud, where they're called Kutim, because Kutim means Kuthian, because it supposedly came from. That's our story. I know they have a different story. They claim to be Kohanim, but we claim that they're converts. So we call them converts of lions because when they came with their Avodah Zorah, according to our story, I'm not saying we're right, I'm just telling, this is what the Jewish Bible says, that the lions began to eat them. And then they reached out to us for help. According to Jewish tradition, we converted them to Judaism. And then they always in some way held a grudge against us. In the book of Ezra, they were attacking the Jews. And this is why in the time of Ezra, they had to build the wall with a trowel in one hand and a sword in the other because of the Samaritans. You know, so, I mean, the history with them wasn't always good. Also with Alexander the Great. They tried to get Alexander the Great to attack Jerusalem and to enslave the Jews. And of course, this is a midrash, but it says that he had a dream of Shimon HaTzadik, and then he went and he turned on the Samaritans and destroyed them, at least partially, because they're still alive today. But also, I mean, the Samaritans don't accept converts, right? Which, by definition, makes them
It's not necessarily don't accept converts. It's just it's harder, even harder, to convert into the Shamerim.
No,
but let's not confuse two groups.
Possible. They made an exception, like for women, because there's only around 300 of them left, and they didn't have enough women to marry, so they converted Russian women to have wives.
That's in the past, Rabbi. That's in the past. It's not like that anymore now. You can ask the Kohen Gadol himself, because he's the one that has the authority.
I'm telling you, I was just there.
You can't. It's not convert like going inside the water. Not something like that. You are considered a part of Bnei Israel. You are doing the minimum 10, but you can also do the rest while studying and practicing. This is the reality of what's going on now. It's not like 100% forbidden to convert. It's not.
You have a group that with their wives together of, let's say, even 600 and 700 individuals. In my opinion, they're ethically and socially irrelevant on this planet.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're so small that in some way we're supposed to learn from them. I ultimately don't care who we follow, as long as we follow the majority that's doing the right thing. And being that Judaism is the one, at least from this perspective, encouraging people, to keep mitzvot, because people still convert to Judaism, even though there's no open door policy. if you're irrelevant, you don't really have
But
a
if you're
choice or a say at
following
the
the
table, unfortunately.
majority, this will be problematic in the future because there are lots of minhagim, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Temani, Mizrahi, and all other different
There's
things.
one halakha.
This will be the problem. You cannot really say who is the majority because it's like a monopoly then.
Okay,
Because
so the
even different
Mishnah
Jews
is
have
set in
different
stone.
minhagim from the place where
All the rabbis,
what set.
all the rabbis who are observant believe in the Mishnah, and the Mishnah says that we will always accept converts. Only because Syrians want to, I don't know, in some way, will collectively act in a ridiculous manner and not
I
accept
heard about
converts.
that.
You could convert to
The
Judaism.
Syrian Jews.
So, and I feel the same way with Karaites. Karaites also didn't accept converts, and they're socially irrelevant. I mean, there's almost none left in Israel. I mean, like a handful. Then who cares what they think?
Yeah. I heard about the Karaites. They were once Orthodox Judaism, but then they changed their ways of life.
Yeah, not Orthodox, but they were, I mean, it started in the 9th century, and they're religious, but they're socially irrelevant. They're religiously irrelevant.
Because he's Jewish.
And any society that doesn't seek converts will fade away in the same way.
Of course. That's logically accepted.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yeah, what's up?
I don't expect an answer, but...
All right, I'll try.
Sorry, 1 second. So, do you have an iPhone?
Yeah, I'm using it right now.
All right. You know how notes come with the iPhone and you can type up notes on your iPhone?
Yeah.
Back in December, my birthday, December 27th, December 3rd, I was typing a bunch of stuff on my iPhone. I'm basically going on this like religious rampage. I'm trying to figure out whether I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm Jewish. I'm reading into everything. And long story short, I'm typing up a bunch of stuff that I thought I was figuring out into my notes so I can just keep notes. And my phone was hacked, and I'm not lying. Like, this is true story. The person who hacked my phone deleted all my notes, and they typed there on my notes. They started literally on my iPhone. I'm watching it happen. They typed, "What if this is all in your head?" And I said, "It's not." And they said, "What are some things you say when you're having bad thoughts?" And I said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus and astaghfirullah." And then they replied, they said, "You see, this kid is saying exactly what I've been saying." And then they pasted to my notes Hebrew writings. And I still have it pasted there. It says, Tifara, Tifara. So basically, it says he is and he will, he was and he will be to glory. And I copied and pasted that and put that on Google. And it said it's a part of Adon Olam, which is like this Jewish song from like the 13th century or something like that. So things got pretty deep. I went into like this rabbit hole. It's still like, unfortunately, it doesn't control my life, but it definitely is something I think about from time to time because that person never hacked my phone again. But then I started thinking like, Jesus was Jewish and Christians never mentioned that, and neither do Muslims ever mention that. And I find it odd that that was posted to my phone. So I don't know if that's really a question, but I wanted to share my experience.
All right, yeah. Well, you were right in the beginning, so I don't have an answer to it before we were talking.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to speak. I just wanted to say, hi, thanks for having me on. I just wanted to say, I think in reply to a Freethinker 613, I think you're raising the Samaritans is ridiculous because they are, after all, a rebellious Palestinian sect who have nothing to do with historic Judaism. Nothing whatsoever. They are essentially a Palestinian sect. They affiliate. They are mostly Palestinian. They affiliate with Palestinian groups.
No, that's not true. What are you talking? Samaritans?
It is.
No, okay.
It is. The ones in Holon were only there because it suits them financially, because it's better for them economically. They're
So they
not there
serve in the
because they like
military,
Israel.
first of all. I mean, they serve in the military, and they're extremely
They
Zionist.
they
I
they don't
can't
have a
speak for the
choice.
ones in Har
They
Bracha.
have no choice. But it suits their pockets. They have no choice.
Whatever.
And
I was just
ultimately,
there, by
that
the
is
way.
what
Like,
I just want to say on that note, in carrying on that note, the purpose of being Jewish from the sort of 11th century onwards is essentially a people class. People are only Jewish because of economic determinism. It's all to do with historic materialism.
Wow.
That's why people are Jewish.
well, you know,
It's to
I'm not
do with
promoting
what
that on
we
this
have.
channel, by the way. I don't
That's what
promote
we...
people to convert to Judaism for any financial benefit, although there are many, by the way.
No, I never said that. I never said it's because... No, you're misreading me. I said... I'm not talking about people who are converted. We can come on to that very quickly.
Yeah, that's
I'm
the whole
talking about
channel,
people...
though. Okay.
Hang on, 1 second. I'm talking about people who are Jewish, who are born
Oh, but I don't feel like
halakhically
that.
Jewish.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. So we'll turn...
All right, let's keep it going, guys. Yeah, I mean, some people just want to speak, but this is not what this channel is about. Okay, in terms of a prestigious people class.
Shalom, Rabbi.
Yeah. Anyways, fine. What's
Shalom,
up?
Rabbi.
Hi.
Yeah, Africa.
It's me,
Can I
Billy.
talk?
It's me, Billy, from Jakarta, Indonesia.
Hi.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the Benoah.
You know what? You
Benoah.
look like the guy from Alvin and the Chipmunks. I'm out of here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Yeah.
it's regarding about
Yeah.
Benoah. So what is the rule regarding Benoah according to our tradition, the Jewish tradition, and may someone become a Benoah the whole of their life, or supposed to be converted in the certain times?
Okay. You said Bnei Noach?
Yes, the seven law of Noah.
Okay. So, guys, don't waste your time with the 7 laws of Noah. The 7 laws of Noah, it's a thing, but it belongs in the Bronze Age.
Mm-hmm.
In the Talmud, it says in 2 different places that God abolished the Noahide laws because no one was keeping them.
Where is it? Where is it?
Opinion. Here, look. The source of the Noahide laws is an idea that within Israel, we could only adjudicate people who have accepted the Torah in their life. Gentiles have a different status than Jews in the land of Israel. That means a Gentile doesn't have to keep all the Torah laws. However, for a Gentile to be allowed to live in the land of Israel, they have to live by a bare minimum of 7 laws. And it's not even for sure 7. Some people say 30. I mean, some people say it's all the laws. But because Maimonides...
Can I talk?
Yeah. Yeah?
I think he lost the connection.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rabbi. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the Noahide laws, they're not for anyone who's serious about God or the Torah. First of all, it's hard to believe that a rabbi would have the authority to establish a metaphysical standard for humanity, meaning for someone to say that God will reward Gentiles by keeping this standard when God never said that. God in the Torah only gave one standard.
Exactly.
Yeah, God only gave one standard, and it's a 613, I mean, give or take some laws. This is there's more than 613 laws. Anyways, so that's what the Noahide laws are. That according to rabbinic Judaism, if a Gentile lives amongst Israel, they have to keep these laws just as the bare minimum to be allowed to coexist amongst Jews. But it was never meant to be taught as a standard for them to aspire to. Right? I mean, you should try to be a Jew. I mean, you're already a Ben or a Bat Noach. I mean, there's nothing really to grow into. And that's my perspective.
Because they also have their own Siddur, you know, they have Benoah Siddur.
Well, they invented it.
Yeah.
Yeah, recently.
So sometimes I talk to them. You don't need to recite the Shema because it says Shema Israel. It's not the Shema Benoah.
No, the reason the Noahide movement exists today is because Jews have outlawed conversion in 90% of the world. So because you have all these people who want to become Jewish, and don't be fooled, 99% of everyone who calls himself a Noahide wants to become Jewish but can't. So they're forced to carry around this stupid label.
So how's the rabbi? Try to facilitate them, like teaching them, but like the only half Torah. Let's say the rabbi only teaching about half Torah, not all Torah. Even
the book
I
of
think
Genesis
it's not.
only. It's a stupid system. It's a stupid system, and anyone who remains a Noahide when they have the ability to become Jewish has been fooled.
Listen to Elements.
What? Hello?
Hello, can I talk?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm from Africa, Ghana. And I believe that the true Jewish are blacks. Okay. Why am I saying that? Jesus Christ was a black man. Was he or not?
It doesn't matter to me.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. He is God. And because he's coming from the dark race or black race, he needed to die. He needed to be killed because of that time there was a racism. And the true African and the true Jew people are the blacks. We settled in Israel, and due to the diaspora, we moved from there to Egypt. And then again, the Arabs came upon and took our land, and we moved to the west and the east.
Okay, no problem.
So when we're talking about the real Jewish...
Let me ask you a question. In your theology, is someone allowed to convert to Judaism?
Yes, we were forced to be converted.
Okay, so then assume that all the Jews were black and that every white Jew is just a convert. So we're still Israel. Who cares?
Yeah, that is why Elements was saying that we are the lost sheep. And everything in the Old Testament talking about God's people going into slavery and other things. Who has ever gone into slavery?
I mean, if we could all convert to Judaism, then assume that every white Jew or every Sephardic Jew or Arab Jew is just a convert, but we're still Israel.
Yeah, it's still
That's
Israel.
The important thing.
And it's going to be Israel. If Jesus Christ was black, then it means that Christianity should be black worship. And black worship isn't Christianity. And it isn't Judaism.
Okay.
So you shouldn't confuse the word with Judaism. It is not Judaism. There's nothing like words. Judaism or Christianity.
All right, so don't call it Judaism. I mean, call it Torah covenant. Regardless, according to this Torah covenant, an outsider could come in. So it doesn't really matter what color the Jews were. The Jews could be...
Before the Torah, what was the worship?
So
worship doesn't
definitely
mean that
not
doing
man
Torah worshiping or...
What was worship? So worship means to keep God's commandments, to serve.
Avodat Hashem. I don't think he understands about this.
Avodah means what?
Avodat Hashem. Worship Hashem. Serve Hashem.
Correct. To serve means to keep his commandments. But how do we serve God? Only by keeping his commandments, correct?
No, I mean, Mackenzie does not understand how to do avodah according to the Torah, because he said we have to worship a black Jesus. That's nonsense.
So Rabbi, wow. how come the Orthodox rabbis facilitated the Benoah? How come they don't know about the rule that in a certain month the Benoah should be converted?
Because of Kabbalah. Kabbalah has destroyed the purpose of Judaism. It took any sense of the practical out of Judaism. And when you're mystic, it means that you never have to say you're sorry and take responsibility for your bad decisions. So Jews nowadays, I mean, separate the world between Jew and Gentile instead of the decent and the indecent. Meaning that if you have Gentiles who want to join Torah and also be sensitized by the word of Torah, they could easily be considered Israel. But no, what Kabbalah teaches that every Gentile hates Jews. And the only people who could become Jewish are people who have a Jewish soul from the beginning, which, in my opinion, whitewashes the whole Jewish system, because it's saying that the only reason you'd be drawn to Torah is if you had a Jewish soul, if you were genetically disposed to be drawn to Torah, not because Torah makes sense or it's life-changing. So if you feel
Jewish
like
soul is something. Jewish soul is something abstract that we cannot prove it. How come we know that we have a Jewish soul?
Right, I don't believe in a Jewish soul, by the way. I mean, Kabbalah teaches this. I believe we all have the same soul. That whatever a neshama is, you know, or a nefesh, because it says, I mean, from a Torah perspective, a nefesh, when it says nefesh benefesh, it means like a person for a person. It means your whole being. It's not just the metaphysical part of it. But in Kabbalah and Midrashim, now it's become like your aura, whatever. You know, I don't separate.
How about
what?
Gilgul HaNeshamot? What does it have? I know it's not in the Torah. It's not written in the Torah. It's Kabbalah. It's a Kabbalah thing. How about Gilgul HaNeshamot? The belief that one does not live only once.
Yeah. So it's not in the Torah, like you said. I mean, it sounds fun. Because he's talking about reincarnation.
Yeah.
It sounds fun. But
it doesn't have to be a human reincarnation, you know. In the reincarnation theory, from all over the world, you know, even the universe has its own reincarnation, like creation, and then it will be destroyed, and then it will be created again, and it will be destroyed again, something like that. Okay. That's why we have black holes.
Black holes? What does that mean? All right. No. I like the idea, but many rabbis fall into the trap of only because they like an idea, they'll start saying that the Torah teaches it. Right? And if you ask the average rabbi, he'll be like, of course the Torah teaches reincarnation, because they're reading it with Nachmanides or some commentator that teaches the notion of reincarnation. So it's nowhere in the Torah. It's nowhere in the Talmud, by the way. It first appeared in the Zohar, like in a popular sense. I mean, it existed before. Like Rav Tzadok Gaon says that anyone who believes in reincarnation, in the notion of Gilgulim, that has adopted a non-Jewish belief. So it shows that even in Israel, it's not a monolithic idea.
Can I ask a question?
I see.
Hi.
How do you reconcile the two scriptures? One saying that the iniquity of the fathers will be brought upon the children, and the other one saying that the son shall not be punished for the iniquity of the fathers.
Right. So I think the continuation of one of those verses is that I will pay back the iniquity of the fathers for so many generations that hate me. So, I mean, it specifically mentions that they continue in the same behavior as the father. But it seems almost like a contradiction, because it says in one area that children do not get punished for their sins of the father, and then elsewhere it says that they do for so many generations, but it says for those who hate me. So one is a legal precept that is binding on the Sanhedrin, on the earthly court, and two could either mean God himself repaying or the consequences of your bad decisions. Like I remember when I was growing up, there was this notion of a crack baby, right? So a crack baby was a baby that was born addicted to crack because its parent did crack. You know, so I mean, from that perspective, we have the child paying the sins, suffering for the misdeeds of the parents. You know, so that's just practical. But I mean, truth be told, I mean, this is just my opinion anyways. So, I mean, the Bible says what it says, yeah. Does that work?
Yeah, sure. No, the reason I'm bringing it up is because some people use these two scriptures to prove reincarnation as well.
Oh, I've had people say that that the only way that you could get punished for the sins of your parents is if you were born again and suffered and being punished. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a rabbi online that I'm not a big fan of, although he's entertaining to watch. His name is Yossi Mizrahi, and he was quoting books that teach that if you ever see children that die at birth, it's because of the sins they did in their previous life, or kids that are born as invalids, like crippled or blind, it's because they broke the Sabbath in the previous life. I don't believe it. It's not in the Torah. And I think that just solidifies the idea that mysticism is man's attempt to control chance. There's things in life that happen and nobody knows why. I'm not convinced that everything that happens on this planet is because God has a hand in it. I'm just not convinced. I think that it takes a mature person to just deal with bad things that happen and stop trying to control chance by wearing little bracelets and like putting little hamsas and evil eyes all over the place. So I'm not very superstitious. Yeah.
Make me confused now, Rabbi, because when we learn we learn Torah, either Torah Shebikta and Torah Shebealpe and Talmud, and also until the Kabbalah, it seems like you try to cut only, just don't go too far.
No, so I don't consider Kabbalah Torah Shebaal Peh, by the way. Torah Shebaal Peh, that has to deal with Torah. That means it has to deal with instruction. I believe that Kabbalah, the Zohar, Sefer HaBehir, Tanya, Lakutei Moharan, like all these books are on the level of Agadah, of folklore and legend. That means that it's essentially disposable. That means you can study it if you want.
Let's say it's like a supplement. What do you think?
Not necessarily, because there's some destructive ideas in there. I mean, nowadays Jews call the Zohar HaKadosh. Like now it's a holy book, like divinely inspired. I think it's just like any midrash that you could take it or you could leave it.
So how to be right? How to keep our knowledge on the rail? I mean, like to become a Torah follower. So how come?
Yeah, so all you have to do is keep the 5 books of Moses and keep halakha. But halakha doesn't come from the Zohar. I mean, halakha comes from the Mishnah. So if you want to be able to keep the halachot in a more practical manner, like study Mishneh Torah of the Rambam. It has all the halachot that exist amongst Israel. So master the 5 books of Moses and master Mishneh Torah, and you would have mastered Judaism. Kabbalah, that you could consider it the frosting on the cake. I mean, I don't view it like that, but whatever. But it's not the cake, okay? I mean, the cake is the written law and the oral law. And the oral law doesn't contain anything metaphysical or anything mystical. It's only halakha, the gezeras, takanas, and I mean, even halach l'moshe misinai for the people who know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. You mean that's not only, you mean that halakha the Rabbanan is less than the halakha Moshe Mishinai?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, all the rabbis will tell you that. Yeah, all the rabbis say. So we have a principle.
Rabbi, I have one funny question. I heard somewhere that Ben Noah, which has 12 months passed by and he was not circumcised, he was considered a heretic in the land of Israel. So what's happening there?
So that proves my point. That appears in the Rambam, like in Hilchos Malachim, that's saying that if someone decides to convert to Judaism, right? Because when you convert, what you do, you circumcise yourself. And 12 months passes and you don't do anything, you're considered like a heretic, meaning that it benefits Gentiles to become Jewish. It says this in the Talmud, that the reason Gentiles suffer in this life or converts suffer in this life is because they delayed their conversion. I mean, it says this in Yevamot. So, with this idea that even the rabbis in the Talmud wanted the Gentiles to remain Noahides, it doesn't exist. This attitude was essentially invented by Chabad.
Yeah, here in Indonesia, the Benoah become very popular, like new religion.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I have disdain.
And many people fall for it.
Right. I have
Yeah, but
disdain for rabbis who teach.
they have to pay for a bunch of money to become a Benoah.
It's a scam. The Noahide movement is a scam.
Scam.
And, yes. And the way they teach it today, it's against halakha, because nowhere in halakha does it say that if someone comes to convert, you offer him the Noahide laws. Nowhere. This they invented.
So it's mean you want to say, if you want to do Torah, do the Torah. If you not want to do Torah, just leave it.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Not in the middle, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's just like what I said. The Mizrahi Jews, they say, if you want to do the Torah, just do it. If you feel like to learn and practice, just do it, because when you don't start, then you will never start.
But they'll say that to people who are born Jewish. I mean, the Mizrahi Jews also, unfortunately, don't encourage Judaism because they're just as Kabbalistic as the Ashkenazi Jews, right? And some of them, don't even accept converts at all. So there's no escaping stupidity like in the Jewish world today.
But I like your style. You look not like a real rabbi without payot.
I look like a fake rabbi. It's good. It's better like this.
Yeah, but I know some picture of
you
you
used
that
to
you
have
use the payot
in the past.
Right.
I saw your picture using a payot back time.
So when I lived in Israel, like 15 years ago, I used to have a beard and I had payot. But
yes, I saw the picture.
We live and we grow. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
All right.
So what do you think about Islam? Are they also considered like Benoah, or?
According to some rabbis, yes. Like Rav Kook.
Yeah.
So Rav Kook, because of his heter mechira, like he wanted to be able to buy produce from Arabs during the Shemitah year. Every 7 years, the Jews aren't supposed to cultivate the land. So they started, according to Jewish law, the only Gentiles that are allowed to live in the land of Israel are Gerim Toshavim, like resident aliens.
Ger Toshav.
Right. Well, so Ger Toshav is a Noahide. So in order for them to justify allowing Muslims to even own land in the land of Israel, Rav Kook had to declare them Noahides, which is a problem. It's because Noahides are subservient to Jews, but Muslims are not subservient to Jews. So it's a big problem. I mean, the state of Israel, even religiously, is very problematic.
And there's another problem for Islam. I'm not telling that all Muslims are bad, but the majority, as you can see, they believe that in the end of days, they will kill the Jews according to their beliefs, because they believe that the Jews are the followers of Dajjal according to their belief, which is funny because Dajjal is translated as like a liar, someone who lies, someone who gives you lies, and therefore he claims to be God. Well, we can see from the history of religion who claims to be God, man who claims to be God. So therefore they're going to kill us in the future. I don't know when, in the end of days. So if they believe something like that, they cannot live side by side with the Israelite people, not even inside Israel, because they will hate us and they will try to kill us. That's all. That's a stupid idea, by the way. But not every Muslim believes that. But the real fanatic ones, they believe in that shit.
So that's more of a reason to encourage Muslims to consider Judaism, to give them an alternative to radical Islam. So the people who come on the show and they tell me that we don't want people to become Jewish, that we want Muslims to remain Muslim and we want Christians to remain Christian, they're the ones who know this better than anybody, that Muslims cannot live in peace with them. But they keep on saying that because they've been trained to just respond in such a manner without even thinking.
But Rabbi, isn't it dangerous if someone hates us and they convert to Judaism to stab our back, that's dangerous.
Well, it's a risk that we're willing to take. I mean, it's dangerous to have a religion that people could be born into. I mean, that's dangerous because it means that the vast majority of your people are going to be idiots, unfortunately.
Mm. But some of rabbis also, even Rasak also dare to translate Hashem with Aleph Lamet Lamet He, which is Allah in Arabic. So some rabbis also agree that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the same God.
So the Rasag wrote in Arabic, just like the Rambam wrote in Arabic. So when they said Allah, when they were talking about God, when they weren't saying that the Muslims have the same God as the Jews, because it's the same word in Hebrew. Eloah, I mean, it's the same word, especially in what's called Temanit, here, which is like Judeo-Arabic.
Okay.
It's virtually identical. Yeah, but it's not that Rav Sadago.
It's a linguistic thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a linguistic thing because in Arabic, like when you say ilah, ilah means Eloah, means something that you worship. See? So al-ilah is the God. Ilah is God, al-ilah is the God, and then they simplify it by calling it Allah. But so when Rav Saadia Gaon wrote Allah, it's not a name, but it's like a title, like Ha Elohim.
It's a name like for the Arabs, though.
For Muslims,
it's a name.
Yeah,
but for us, it's a title. Yeah, it's not the same God. I believe that Muslims are idolaters. And I believe that was the majority opinion. I mean, to the Rambam said otherwise. And the reason, I mean, the Rambam even got such a prestigious name was because the Jews back then were suffering under the Almohads. So the Almohads were forcibly converting people to Islam, and people didn't want to convert. They would unalive them, right? So then the rabbis were telling the Jews, that's what you have to do, because Muslims are like Ovdei Kohavim. And then the Rambam stepped in and said, no, they're monotheists. It's the worst argument in Mishneh Torah. Only because you're a monotheist doesn't mean that you worship the same God. It just means that you worship one God. But that God could be a turtle or a lizard. It's still one God, but it's a different God. So the Rambam said that.
In response to that, I understand what you're saying, but Muslims in general, okay, when you read the Quran, it does mention the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So
it's mentioned in the Quran also. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Ismail.
Here, listen. The way you know who you worship is what that God expects from you. Our God, the way we worship our God is by keeping the commandments in the Torah. The way they worship their God is by keeping the commandments in the Quran. How could it be the same God then?
Cannot be. It's logic, simple logic.
So Jews who say that we're cousins, first of all, there's nowhere in the Torah that says that Ishmael is the father of the Arabs or anything like that. They say that to be politically correct. Okay, but from a Torah perspective, you see, the word avodah zarah doesn't really mean idolatry. Like the Hebrew word for idolatry would be like avodat elilim or avodat pesilim, right? So
foreign worship,
strange or foreign service. That means if
foreign service, yeah.
If you're serving God in a way that He didn't prescribe, that is a form of avodah zarah. So that is what Muslims are doing.
Yes. For example, like the Jews pray like 3 times a day. And the Muslims pray 5 times a day. That's a different thing. So different timing.
So Jews actually pray 5 times a day. It's split into 3 segments. There's 3 segments, but there's 5 different times of prayer. And I don't know. I mean,
so you combine the 2 in the morning and combine 2 in the night, combined into 1, because you don't have the time to do it 5 times.
No, well, I guess you could have the time. I mean, some people say the Shema and then they say the Amidah later. Yeah, but you miss Mincha, which would make it 5, right? So you have the Shema, the Amidah, the Amidah, and then the Amidah and the Shema. Or, I mean, it depends. Like if you want to lump it in when you go to sleep. So it's technically 5.
Oh, I see.
But what I mean is a different prayers, different kind of movements, and it's all different. And not to mention the Shabbat, we have the Aref Shabbat and then the Havdalah, which they don't have. So if we are talking about logic, they are not following the same rules. And the funny thing is that they claim that the Christian have the Old Testament and the New Testament, and they claim that they have the final testament, which makes no sense. Because if you want to have something final, what about Sikhism? Sikhism is the last religion on earth, like 500 years ago. So it's not.
No, Mormonism.
You don't have to claim that you are the final.
There's Mormonism.
Mormonism.
Yeah, Mormonism.
Yeah.
That's funny.
One thing I do believe, I believe that a lot of people convert to Islam because they think that Islam is more has more morals than either Christianity or Judaism. If you read in the Quran, it mentions one of the laws in the Torah that you can ask rent of a non-Israelite, but you can't ask it to an Israelite, and that's actually mentioned in the Quran. And it says that the Jews invented this in order to in order to be able to do that, like in order to get money, right? So
you mean interest?
They will actually
interest.
Yeah, interest. Yeah, interest.
Okay, so but that's a misconception because if you go to any Islamic country, religious Islamic country, and you try to buy a car and say, okay, I mean, the car is $5,000, finance, only charge me the $5,000, I mean, split into 24 or 72 payments. They're going to charge you interest because they don't consider charging interest as interest. What they mean interest, they mean property. So it's a lie. It's a complete lie. They charge interest, but they think that what we call ribis here, which is interest, means that we could charge people crazy amounts of money and steal from them, but not. So ask a Muslim. Everything I say, trust but verify. They charge interest on loans because they don't consider charging or financing something as a form of interest. It's a scam, and nowhere in the Torah does it say that you have to charge Gentiles interest. It just says that you can't charge Jews interest. So there's many times, even the Rambam says that you shouldn't charge Gentiles interest, I believe, at his time, so that the Gentiles wouldn't hate the Jews, but there's no obligation to do it. And also, it's easy to have an ethical class of people at the time of Muhammad when the Torah did the hard task of civilizing the world. At the time when the Torah was given, the world was separated between Torah keepers and everyone else. If you weren't keeping the Torah, you were a barbarian, essentially. But in the time of Muhammad, you had Jews already, you had Christians, right? You had people of the book. Of course, they're going to give these people special treatment because they've been sensitized by Torah values. So they can't honestly claim that the world was as ethical in the time of the Torah when it was given, with the time when the Quran appeared or whatever. So it doesn't really make too much sense.
And Rabbi, I have a question. I have a very, very personal question. How if a Jew missed their tefillah? Is it considered as a sin or not?
No, it's not a sin. Okay, well, there's a debate in the Jewish world if prayer is from the Torah or it's from the rabbis. According to Maimonides, it's from the Torah. According to Nachmanides, it's from the rabbis. Well, you don't have to do teshuvah, repent. I guess teshuvah is not even the right word. Like mechila, like say I'm sorry for breaking rabbinic laws. That is only for breaking Torah laws. However, if you say that we don't have an obligation to keep rabbinic laws, then you do have to do teshuvah. So when someone breaks rabbinic laws, all you do is try again next time. But you're not letting God down because it's essentially man-made laws. No one is claiming that the Amidah was written by Moshe Rabbeinu. Or I mean, the Shema is not even a prayer. I mean, it's like you're reciting something, but prayer is only considered the Amidah. So no, I mean, you shouldn't repent because you missed a prayer. There's even a practice.
I have a prayer.
Well, you say the second prayer twice.
I have a Jewish friend. I have a Jewish friend in France. He lives in France, and I think he's secular, not very secular, but at least he still uses his tefillin in the morning and says Shema Israel and a little bit of Amidah, and then that's it. But he doesn't recite all the prayers in the Siddur for the morning prayer. So, but he's still saying the Shema at least once a day, or maybe twice a day. So, how do you think? What's your opinion about that?
So that's a requirement. On my website, like if you go to TorahJudaism.org, like we translated the Rambam Siddur into Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, English. The Rambam Siddur is like 20% of the Siddurim we have nowadays, because they've added so much stuff, mainly because of Kabbalah, that it takes like an hour, to pray the morning prayers. In the morning, all you have to pray, apart from the brachas, which you only have to do like if you're doing the actual action, right? It's not like the way Ashkenazim do it nowadays, that they read all the brachot at one time. It's essentially just the Shema Amidah. That's what's required. And if you're not praying with the minyan, you don't have to say Kaddish. And of course, they've added a lot more Kaddishes than you're supposed to say. Like the mourner's Kaddish is something new.
So what about the korbanot? Is it
optional?
We need to say korbanot?
Optional.
Okay.
Most Jews in the morning, unless you're Sephardi, Sephardim are big on saying korbanot, but it's optional. It's optional, 100%.
Okay.
It shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes. To pray in the morning.
20 minutes, okay.
No, it's different.
Okay, that's a minimum requirement.
Now, like if you have to read the Sefer Torah, if you have a minyan, it's going to take a little longer. But that being said, the 1 year cycle of reading the Torah, which makes it a lot longer, is new. It says that in Eretz Yisrael, where they read the Torah every 3 years, that's what the Mishnah says. Which means that the Torah readings are much shorter. So
thank you to answer my question that the miss of the tefillah, such as like Sacharit, if I miss, it's not considered as a sin.
Okay, yeah. It's not an actual sin, but the idea is that you're supposed to make it up. Like you're supposed to pray like 2 Amidas or something like that. But yeah, if you miss it, as a matter of fact, if you can't focus in the morning, like you're not supposed to pray. If you're traveling, you're not supposed to pray. If there's a death in the family, you don't have to pray. If you're getting married, you don't have to pray. If you can't focus, then don't pray. Pray.
I understand, because there is in Mishnah said that someone who do the halakha is it's okay if he does not do another halakha.
All right. I didn't get that. Let me see. Wait.
Yeah, if someone do one halakha, it's not obligation for him to do another halakha.
Well, if you're learning Torah, you're partially exclude from prayer, right? Although, you should make time to pray also. But if you do one halacha, you're excluded from another halacha. All right. Okay.
It's in the Mishnah Berachot.
All right. I'll take your word. I just needed an example, but fine. No problem. All right. All right, praise. Welcome.
Yes. Why you disappeared? Show your face.
Who, me?
Yes, it's all on pause. We can't see you.
No, really?
Yeah, your light is paused.
Really.
Since a while.
It's paused. But anyway, Rabbi, listen, I was there on that with, I can't remember I think it's Rob somebody, before the Shabbat.
Yeah,
before the Shabbat. And Kobe, I know, he's just, I see he's just got a dislike for you. Right, but he mentioned something and he brought up the thing about the mikveh in the sea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that's, the mikveh should be separate and all the rest of it.
No, wait.
So when
wait. There's no law that says that the mikveh has to be separate. By the way, no law.
No, I'm saying what he said.
Okay.
I'm not. I didn't say that to you. Kobe said that to you. Right, but I went down because the time just didn't, and Gilly was Gilly and the others were talking backwards forwards. He was basically in a sense supporting what you were doing. Okay, Gilly is the Hebrew hammer. All right, so he was saying to you, and he had some pictures there. Obviously went to your into, I don't know, probably your YouTube channel or whatever the case may be, and the pictures of the mikveh in the sea. Then he was saying, well, that should be separate. Okay, so I just want to know, when Israel went through the Red Sea, to me that's a type of mikveh. I mean, you can dispute with that, but to me it's a type of mikveh. Did Israel go through separately, men first, then women second, or?
Yeah, so
that was going to be my question to him. But I dropped because the Shabbat was coming in, so I wasn't going to continue.
Yeah.
So, that was going to be my question. So that to me is a type of if we want to say it's metaphor,
I got it.
Future or whatever. They didn't go through separately. They all went through together. So I mean, I don't understand his point.
Well, I mean, he doesn't know how Judaism functions, and that's also not how Judaism functions. Like, it's not like we read the Torah to determine how Jewish law should operate. All these laws are set in stone already, right? So the thing is, these Israelis on that show don't know anything about Judaism, and they're schooling someone who does, right? I mean, they're not even religious. Imagine hopping on a TikTok live, like full of Muslims, where an atheist Muslim is correcting the imam on how he thinks Judaism functions. It's so stupid. People tolerate it because there's a lie being spread that Judaism is an ethno-religion. Judaism is not an ethno-religion. There's an ethnic component to the Jewish people. The religion is if you're not religious, you're not part of Judaism. Now, if your mother's Jewish, that makes you legally Jewish. That means you're liable for the punishments of the court. The only people who push this nonsense that Judaism is an ethno-religion are people who do not practice Judaism because they have to solidify their Jewishness somehow, and it can't be with the religion that they don't practice. So they're like, oh no, I'm a proud Jew, but I'm an atheist. That does not appear nowhere in the Talmud. Nowhere in the Talmud was anyone an atheist and Jewish. If you dropped the belief in God, your parents would sit shiva. They would act like you died. These people are stupid. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, they're just stupid. So, the reason I can't make such a claim like that is because some rabbi will hear me and they're like, "You're a rabbi and you're interpreting the Torah like a Karaite." The process of conversion is set in stone. What I do by taking people to the ocean, which is the most kosher mikvah, and there's nothing about converting people together, and I don't convert women and men together. However, if someone happens to be married and they wanted to go in the water together, and they're not naked, by the way, because according to Jewish law, it specifically says that you can wear loose clothing. I'm not going to send people to the beach in the daytime naked. Okay, I mean, as interesting as that may look, whatever I do is according to Jewish law. So nowhere in Jewish law does it say that them crossing the Red Sea is what made them Jewish. Mount Sinai made them Jewish, made them Israel.
Yeah, but my point is, to me, that's a type of mikveh, and they would have gone through together. There wouldn't have been a separation there.
No, right,
and I mean, if you want separate mikvahs,
you're just trying to find stuff to dislike me on. Trust me.
No, I know. I've seen him.
I made the claim that I would take down all my videos if they would show that, one, proselytizing is not allowed, and two, that I'm performing conversions correctly. I would take down all my videos and stop making classes. They don't know Judaism. And no rabbi comes up here to challenge me for a reason, because they know that what I'm saying is factual, and they don't want to be made to look unpopular. Unfortunately, Jews liked being liked. That's it, and especially amongst religious people, courage is like almost non-existent. Most religious people they have zero courage. I don't give a crap because I don't get paid for doing this. But if you're a rabbi who gets paid and you're going to tell people what they don't want to hear, it's a shame. But
if you want separate mikvahs in the ocean, how do you separate the ocean? You can't separate the ocean.
No,
so you just take You take them in separately. That's all. Finished. Done.
But there's no prohibition. Yeah, like, if there's no prohibition for putting people in the same ocean mikvah, then why even bring it up? It's the reason why.
Exactly.
Is because he was trying to find dirt on me online. So there's these
No, he
two
does it all the
rabbis.
time. I've seen him before.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not one occasion. I've seen him on your lives before, coming up and even he even uses bad vocabulary. So
yeah, they curse. I
Mm.
mean, they're idiots. I mean, they're idiots, and they play it all tough, like they're Israelis. Look, I wasn't born Jewish, okay? And if I would love,
No, we know
these
that.
people in the
That's
street,
no.
so you could see them run
But
away.
you keeping anyone is that it doesn't matter. The stranger, the sojourner, and I stick mostly to Torah. You understand? I'm not saying Talmud is not valid or whatever. There's some things in Talmud, as far as I'm concerned. No, I'm not gonna. I'm not going to be bothered with it because it's just far out there. Okay, and I think they've incorporated some things here. But anyway, the point is this: that the Torah says that Israel's meant to be a light unto the nations. I mean, how are you a light unto the nations, and how are you trying to, like what you're doing now? What like Abraham said, the proselytization. I mean, that becomes that's a bad word. And that gets heckles up. But the point is, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, otherwise, how are you a light, and how are you convincing people to come to the light? Yeah, convincing people to come to the light, but you're saying no, you're not supposed to be doing that. That's not what the Torah says. So I don't understand.
I'm looking at Hebrew Hammer, in that group was on my side. And everybody there is scared of him because he's the brightest guy in that group, right? And
Hebrew Hammer was for you. He was telling that other person. I mean, he was even using bad language, telling him he's talking.
Yeah, no, but Hebrew Hammer is the smartest guy in that group, and he realizes that
this
at least makes sense.
Very smart.
I'm not telling people that they have to encourage people to become Jewish. I do it because I think it's a good idea. That's it. It's just a good idea. But for someone to say it's a bad idea and at the same time curse Christians and Muslims all day long on TikTok is an idiot, is a moral idiot.
No, I agree with you. Morals, so have morals. Doesn't matter, what group is going to impose those morals upon you, but have morals. You understand the saying? That's it. To live a moral life. So I agree with you. And I just wanted to come up to say, I understand. Don't let them put you off. Kobe is he can become a real character.
Israelis are very
times.
abrasive, but I'll tell you, like 9 out of 10 times, they're like 5'4", like little mama's voice with a low voice, and they come on TikTok and they're like, I'm Israeli, this and that. They're a bunch of soy boys. I'm telling you, it pisses me off because I try to be very polite with them, and they think it's a shame. I mean, it's such a disappointment. I mean, Jews on this platform are such a disappointment. And the Israel hatred is not going to cease unless Jews start caring about people other than themselves. Okay?
Exactly.
Anyone who was there on that live, hearing them say that we don't want people to join us, right? That and in the same breath saying that they're disgusting. Because I said, no, Islam is an ethical religion. And he's like, oh, they're horrible, this and that. So then I told him, if you believe it's so horrible, why don't you encourage them to become Jewish? Oh, we don't want them either. These people are moral idiots, and they speak for the Jewish people, and everyone is going on board. This is why people dislike Jews, okay? This is why. Because there's a problem within the Jewish people, and it's a moral problem, right? I mean, whatever.
And the way they behave solidifies that idea as well.
Yeah. No.
Attacking you.
80% of Jews on TikTok, are disgusting. I mean, they're horrible. Why? Because they get a free pass because they claim to be Israel and atheistical and irreligious. I mean, that's whatever. They're redundant. So how could you claim to be God's chosen people and not even believe in God? It's stupid. It makes no sense. If you don't Judaism, you're not in any covenant with God and you're not important to God. You may be legally an Israelite, right? But they know exactly what Israel means to the ears of a Gentile. It means chosen by God and special. And they walk around, I'm a born Jew, I'm this and that. they're as disposable as an unethical Gentile. Okay, on the same boat. That's it. An ethical Gentile is greater than an ethnic Jew who doesn't practice ethical behavior.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, I just came up to encourage you and, put
So
that
what
thing
part of South
forward to
Africa
you.
do you live in?
I'm originally from Cape Town, but I've moved to. I don't know if you've been there. Okay, do you know where Northern Cape is? Northern Cape, Uppington.
I was in Rondebosch, and I went to Sea Point, and I went to Table Mountain, and I went to the Garden Shul. Where else did I go?
Yeah. Now that Garden Shul.
Greens Market. Greens Market, I think it's called.
The Garden Shul. That's where the Gitlin Library is. Correct? You were there?
Yeah. I mean, I went to that shul. I mean, it's been a while, but
the museum is also there. The Holocaust Museum is there as well.
Oh,
is that the shul you went to?
But anyway, okay. I did go to the Apartheid Museum in Johannesburg, which is Johannesburg.
Yeah, that shul is what. Yeah, that shul is I think it is the oldest shul in Cape Town. Now the rabbi there, because they were all going on about Piot, I don't always pronounce it correctly, but your Piot, the sideburns, whatever the case may be, and beard and all the rest of it, they were commenting about that as well. The rabbi that took over, well, this was a couple of years ago, so I don't know if he's still there. He's a youngster, and I said to him, I went in there, for the prayer time, and I said to him, what's this whole thing about you must have a beard and the shaving and everything else? And he says, no, as long as the blade doesn't touch the skin, that's all. So you use electric razor or whatever, and because he didn't have one. So I said, well, why is that? And that was his answer. But it was more out of curiosity and to see how he was going to respond to it. But I know that, so all these things, I just want to encourage you, man. Don't let it get to you.
Right,
just continue doing what you believe you need to be doing, and that's all that matters. It's like you said, it's between you and Elohim. But shalom, Rabbi. And no, I come on to. I don't always ask to come up, but you'll see me in the comments from time to time. I love listening to you, and makes a lot of sense. So shalom.
Rabbi, I have one question. This is really important for some people who live in Asia, of course, because some people do not plan to go to Israel and live in Israel for the rest of their lives, because like you yourself, you said that you were 15 years ago in Israel and then you were back in America because it's hard to get a job, and also for the living, it's not very easy in Israel. So you go back to America because you can make better parnasa, you see. But here, for example, in my place, the conversion process for some people are being monopolized by a group of people who claim to be the most Jewish than any other. But for some people who have gone the mikveh ritual, some people say once you are Jewish, you cannot be. It is not reversible. You cannot be a goy anymore. What I mean here is a goyim, like another nation. We all know in the Hebrew language, goy just means nations, because in the Torah it says goy kadosh. Right. Bnei Israel is called goy kadosh, a holy nation. That's all what it means. So goyim just means nation. But once they are converted, or they have this mikveh ritual, then they are Jewish forever. They are Israelite forever. But there is a group in my place that claims that you have to be Orthodox Judaism. You have to be this. You have to be part of my community. If not, then you're not Jewish. What's the Jewish law about people like this?
Okay, so what they could say is that if someone converts reform, or if the person witnessed your conversion is not shomer mitzvot, or it's a woman, then it wouldn't be a valid conversion. So that's why you need an Orthodox conversion. Orthodox is a term that was created by the Reform movement to make fun of traditional Jews. So as long as the person witnessing your conversion is a Torah-keeping Jew, then you're an Israelite forever, legally. legally. I mean, you can't change that, but there's nothing religious about it. It's a legal status. People convert all the time and they don't even believe in God. Some people just convert for marriage. I mean, by the simple fact that you could be born Jewish means that it doesn't mean anything, okay, to God.
Yeah.
It's what you do with it. So, yeah, I mean, I endorse Orthodox Judaism, and some conservative, for example, like Israel, the conservative movement is called Masorti, and there are a lot more religious and conservative Jews in America. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Is there a source for this that the person has to be observant?
For what? I mean, to be important to God?
No, that the one who does the conversion has to be observant.
Yeah. So a rabbi doesn't convert you to Judaism. He witnesses your conversion. So we have standards of what's called a apostle aid, like what invalidates you as a witness in Judaism. And there's a handful of things that do that. One, I believe, is being like Mechalel Shabbat. If you're publicly desecrating the Sabbath, it also says if you're a gambler, that also invalidates you as a witness. If you're related to another, like one of the people on the Beit Din, also invalidates you as a witness. So there's certain things that invalidate you as a proper kosher witness. And that's part of Jewish law. So, yeah, I mean, that's what they would use, like if they had to find a reason to disqualify your conversion there.
Because the reason I'm asking is because you don't know, for example, someone that is Orthodox, like an Orthodox rabbi, you don't know his personal life. So, but what you are saying is that if he publicly desecrates the Sabbath, right?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, in the Mishnah, it doesn't even mention how many witnesses you actually need, right? It appears in the Rambam that it's 3. In Shulchan Aruch, it says 3 lechatchila, but like b'diavad, it says 2. And in the Mishnah, it doesn't even give a number. And it seems that people could even convert themselves to Judaism. I'm just telling you, most people don't know that Judaism is so ambiguous on the notion. So they typically go by the most recent opinion. So in this area,
in the Mishnah
we had a
Torah,
conversation about that last
it
time.
says Shlosha Chaverim, 3 friends. I mean, it has to be Jewish friends, right? But it says Shlosha Chaverim, not Shlosha Rabbanim.
No, for sure, right? I mean, it says elsewhere, also in Mishneh Torah, it says Gimel Hedyotot. So it says 3 idiots essentially could perform a conversion. You know, I mean, Hedyotot are like laymen. But I said idiot because they say that's like where the word idiot came from. You know,
So
from
let's go back like 3,000 years ago, where we don't have certificates, conversion papers, and all of that. And all what you do is just jump into the water, saying the prayers, and after that, you get circumcised. And that's all the process that you need to have a valid conversion. But it's not like that nowadays, because it's like, oh, you have to be part of a certain community, you have to have a legal paper, and so on. Well, that only works if you want to go aliyah to the land of Israel. But if you stay in the Galut, you don't really need those papers, unless you want to go to some kind of a yeshiva or to have some kind of a Jewish marriage, then you will have to need those papers. But other than that, papers are worthless.
Right. Well, conversion is worthless if you're not going to be part of a community. And it's hard to be part of a community like if you don't have some witness that could testify you converting. And like you said, marriage has to do with someone else. So in terms of like, you know, mamzerut, it would be an issue if you're marrying someone and you're not even technically Jewish on the status of the child that's born to you. So it's safer to have a piece of paper and to have people witness you go into the water. So that's why, I mean, I endorse that.
But I think if you say that everybody should become Jewish, and not all people are able to do that standard because they don't live in America or Europe or Australia. Some of them live in Asia, which being Jewish is quite hard and difficult.
Yeah. Yes, that's why I go to Asia. Well, Israel's in. I go to India, Pakistan, and
for those people who who establish like a local community, let's say Asian Jewish people, who establish a community and it's only between them, then paper might not be an issue. But if someone wants to marry someone in Israel, or if someone wants to marry someone in America, then he needs those papers because it's from one community to another community. But if he will spend the rest of his life in his place in Asia, then I don't think that any paper would be relevant.
Yeah, no, the paper, nowhere in halakha would it say you have to give someone a paper.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
A star or like
right.
Like a tuda. Yeah, so it's. I mean, this is what we do nowadays. For the sake of order, you have a piece of paper, it has a stamp on it, but it's not required.
Well, Rabbi, do you agree
So
with
when
the
you
statement?
convert people,
Yeah.
Yeah, do you agree with the statement in the Talmud
so
when
when
it
you
says that when they cast aspersions on the validity of the conversion, that after that, if they went down in the water for purifying themselves from menstruation or releasing seed, that the intention of that is actually valid for the conversion?
So yes and no. I mean, the Rambam brings out that example. He says yes. I mean, someone who keeps all the mitzvot and the woman goes, I mean, to the mikvah for like purification reasons, you shouldn't question if they're converts or not, unless they come to get married.
Mm-hmm. How about the online conversion? Because lately there are many like new wave of online conversion and do the mikvah online.
I'm against
it. Is
it.
It okay?
No, I'm against it.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're against me, by the way. You know, because the people who run these online conversions, and they're Orthodox people too, were against me going to India to convert my group because they wanted to convert them online. This doesn't exist. Online conversion doesn't exist. Okay, and it's hard enough. Converts have to deal with enough. You know, I mean, for them now to be considered fake because they have an online conversion. That's for sure.
So maybe they have their new, like say, like a new halakha or new reason to do that.
Yeah. Well, so we can't establish new halachas. Now, if all the Jewish people, yeah, no, we can't. I mean, according to Jewish law, like all the halachas are set in stone. This is why that we studied the Mishnah, because the Mishnah
unless
was the
you're
last.
Sanhedrin.
Right. It was the last Sanhedrin. You know, so anyone who comes up with the law nowadays, it's automatically a custom.
Okay.
I mean, it's a minhag. I mean, it's not a halakha.
Because here in Indonesia, there's some community that do such thing like online conversion with the mikvah online also.
I mean, I'm familiar, you know, but I'm against that. Now, if all the Jewish communities worldwide want to start doing that, then it's fine. But being that nobody does that, but one court, what's the guy's name? It's some guy, Michael, whatever. My friend Moshe Terra also did that also. I'm very much against it. Very much against it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even the Reform never do such thing, the online conversion.
Yeah. No, because these guys don't want to travel. I mean, I'll go. Don't worry. I'm going to go to Jakarta soon. Like, and we'll convert.
Oh, that's great. That's great. We will welcome you. Right, Isaac?
Yes, sure. That would be nice. Because we are much against the Noahide people. They are giving the wrong impression, the wrong knowledge about the Torah. Even though I am not very, very religious, I'm not so religious anymore nowadays, but I still put a value on the Torah that it's the best kind of an ethical moral there is in this planet.
See, there is a comment online is fake. Yes.
But there's a friend of mine there. Is the rabbi there still that guy Baruch? What's his name? Baruch.
Yeah. You know that. Yeah.
Before we have a group, I am the one of this Tofia Singer students.
Yeah.
You know, there is a problem in this country. In Indonesia, there is a problem between Jews. They are not so friendly, you know. So one is making a community, another one is making another community, and they are against each other. They are not very close friendly, you know. This is the problem in this country.
But the biggest mistake you guys did was taking Tobias Singer there. Okay, because
not me, definitely not us.
No, I hear
it's somebody else.
I have a lot of students there who told me that they couldn't attend his classes because he was charging money for the classes. But that if you didn't have money,
that's true.
Yeah,
I heard from the student itself that they were charging for money,
but I never charge for the money. Truly, I never give some money because every Shabbat when
for the internal students don't pay, but outsiders they have to pay.
Okay.
Yeah, and he didn't perform one time when he was there. It was a completely his existence online is a waste of time. Unfortunately, there's no war with Christians trying to convert Jews. It's so rare. It's so rare that a Jew converts. You know, it's all he teaches is anti-Christian stuff. Okay, I mean, if you came from Christianity, okay, fine, for 2 months, but his students are there for years just learning 20 different ways to disprove Paul. Like, just move forward. I mean, start studying halachas. Something that has to do with Judaism.
So most of my Rabbi Tofia students now become a Benoah, but I refuse to be a Benoah. How come? Because he taught me how to shomer Shabbat, to shomer the halakha. So how come I become a Benoah? No way.
Hey, look, if he had any guts, like he would have converted you all to Judaism. You know, but he knows if he does that, but then he'll lose his like sponsorships.
Income.
I mean, he was there for how many years? 4 years?
But he doesn't. But he's not a RCI rabbi. He's not afraid to convert people. As a rabbi.
Anybody could perform conversions. I mean, he's Jewish, so he could convert you.
It doesn't have to be a rabbi because in the Mishnah Torah it doesn't say Shlosha Rabbanim, it says Shlosha Chaverim.
Right.
Do you RCA rabbi? The term of RCA rabbi? Yes.
The what? Say it again.
RCA. What is that? What's the acronym?
So the RCA is just in America, by the way. I mean, the Rabbinical Council of America. It's just America. You know. So I'm not part of the RCA. I'm not. Yeah, but there's many different organizations. I mean, that's not. There's the RCC. There's the CRC. Just the RCA in America is probably one of the more because it's on the East Coast.
The problem is now like this, Rabbi. Me and my kids, because we learn Judaism for 7 years, and now I think 11 years already. So there is no way to become Benoah. So I choose to join with the conservative reform now and do the conversion with them because there is no option here to have the certificate of conversion.
Yeah. Orthodox rabbis aren't using their heads, but they think that people are going to remain Noahides. No, they're just going to become Muslim, become atheist, or reform or conservative. Okay. So if you don't convert people to Orthodox, they're just going to go somewhere else. You know, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, it just frustrates me. It just frustrates me how dumb these people are.
Yeah, that's how frustrated we are here in Jakarta because we don't have the Orthodox conversion, and the only one available is only Reform and Conservative here. We have our own shul. The Sefer Torah is from America also that donate from the America.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I actually agree with you, Rav. I actually had a friend that was I think if I remember correctly, he told me he was Pakistani, and he said he always wanted to convert to Judaism, but he was turned down by the rabbis, so he just had to embrace Islam. That's literally what happened.
There's a lot of women, I mean, that do that in particular. You know, I mean, like people have lives ahead of them. You know, I mean, they want to date, they want to get married, and they're going to make it impossible. Like, who are you going to date as a Noahide? Honestly, I mean, it's so stupid.
It's difficult.
Like, where are you going to pray? Like, where are your kids going to pray? I mean, there's no community. It's so, people are so stupid. I'm sorry. The vast majority of Orthodox rabbis are stupid. I mean, they're stupid. They're morally stupid.
And also they believe about rejecting those potential convert like 3 times is an idiot belief, according to my opinion.
According to halakha,
Rejecting 3 times?
not even once.
That's not even halakha. That's not even mentioned anywhere in the Torah, to reject someone like 3 times.
No, it isn't.
It's just to make sure if they are serious or not, but this is something stupid to do. You don't have to reject someone to see if they're serious or not. You just have to communicate. That's what communication is all about.
Yeah, according to the halakha, I don't even think that's allowed, to be honest with you. It says the opposite. It says you bring them in so that they don't turn back to their old path and their old ways.
Yeah, I think Rambam said that.
Yeah,
why would you separate someone from the good path?
Yeah. Let's see. All right.
And it's a monopoly thing here, especially in Indonesia, like what my friend told you. He said that it's a monopoly because you can only be Jewish in this country through him, through his community, because he is like linked to the Spanish Jewish community, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, like he learned by watching the other Jews. All right, guys, thank you for stopping by. I'm going to end.
Rav, Shavuot Tov. Take care.
Thank you, Shavuot Tov. I will do my Sacharit, late Sacharit. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.